We are live. Right. Just wait for everybody to join in, jump in, get into the classroom. I guess it's a classroom. I'll just hold down a paradiddle because this will be relevant a bit later in the lesson. So settle in, get your drink. Let me know what you're drinking. Let me know what you're eating. Let me know what you're doing. Throw it down in the comments. Hopefully you can hear me over this paradiddle. Again, we will get into the lesson. We got a fairly large amount of content to get into here. This is going to be a pretty sizable lesson, but this paradiddle will come back at the end with some pretty juicy, amazing little bits of adaptation. So you can move these accents. Look at how we move these accents. We've got some stuff coming down in the chat. In a second, I will start reading that out before we get into the beginning of this lesson. So yeah, make friends, say hi, settle in. This is an exercise in itself. Communicating verbally and paradiddly. It's a rather boxy, it's a boxy rudiment, really. It doesn't have the same fluidity as the 6-stroke roll and the 9. Obviously, we're not doing the 6s and the 9s, but that's what we're doing. Right, so that's the paradiddle. We will make a reference to that. It will make an appearance in a minute. So let's just check what we've got coming down here. Very underrated YouTuber. Thank you very much, Xavier. When you say sizable, so I will say, Mr. Creighton, I am in a band, Modern Hinterland. There's a bit of a shout out, shameless plug. Modern Hinterland. Yeah, on YouTube, Spotify, the whole shebang. Check it out. This is very different from the band, but so we're 2 minutes in, and we'll start off because obviously, if I learned anything in school, it's nothing. But I've made a list. This is the lesson. This is what we will be getting into. So straight off the bat, what I would like to do is welcome a couple new members to the family. I would like to welcome Stephen Parker. I'd like to welcome Justin Jackson. I'd like to welcome Marisa Nelson. I'd like to welcome Xavier Creighton, who is a left-handed, left-handed player, from my knowledge, and I'd like to welcome Mocha. So those are five new Drum Nerd family members. So welcome to the community. Welcome to the family. Thanks for joining. The channel's starting to grow quite well, actually. I think we're on 233 now. So I'm pretty chuffed, and it's wonderful. So. And thank you, Tim. Thank you, Timothy, for joining this lesson. It would be nothing without Timothy. And the comment of the week. We're going to do a new section. Comment of the week. And so if you've got something for next lesson, next Friday, let me know. But this week's comment of the week comes in from Xavier there. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but he did let me know that he gets ads sometimes and YouTube notifications and pop-ups for things such as I'm dating your cousin, but I like you. Now that's just got to be a bumper sticker right there. That's a bumper sticker if there ever was one. So thank you for the comment of the week, Xavier there. I'm dating your cousin, but I like you. If you've ever found yourself in that situation, please let me know, because I couldn't imagine how you would. But that's a weird conversation, I guess, to be having with your mom, because that probably, I feel like that would be coming from the mom. You know, I'm dating your cousin, but I like you. That might be a mama grandma thing. I don't think anything's unreasonable with that kind of a comment. So here we go. We're going to stop talking about that crazy bumper sticker. And before we get into the actual lesson, this is page 33. We're working on bar 5. And down here, you'll see a nice, beautiful snare drum. So we will get into that a bit later in terms of what bearing edges do and how they influence the sound, different snare strands and how they influence the sound. And we're gonna really get drum nerdy about things. I see the chat's kind of exploding there a little bit. Yes, yeah. I've heard you do play the right-handed drum kit, which is nice. But if you're looking to try and figure out how to play a left-hand setup, let me know at some point in the future, and I can maybe do a left-handed setup video for you. And I say people like you, you know what I mean. Yeah. Of which book? This comes from the Bob Armstrong drums book, Mr. Tim. Bob Armstrong book. People pay good money for these things. They don't exist anymore, obviously, since his untimely passing, unfortunately. So that's probably the most valuable thing in my house, other than my sense of whimsy. So here we go. We are going to be jumping in. Yes, we are going to be jumping in to this lesson, page 33, bar 5. What we're doing here is we're moving that 16th note over to the end of 3, and then you've obviously got the downbeat on the quarter note on 4. So the right hand will be holding down time, as is per usual. Xavier, your left hand will be holding down time. And what we're really working on as the ostinato will be 1, 2, and 4. I think. Who knows? 1, 2, 4. Right? So if you can clap it, you can play it. So be the theory. So that's what's going to be coming out of the left hand there. And yeah, here we go. We're holding quarter notes down on the bass drum there. We're feathering it, so it should be like children of the 40s and 50s. Well, not felt but not heard, seen but not heard, same principle. You know where I'm going. This is getting demonetized. So we're holding down quarter notes first on the ride cymbal, and that will join with the right foot. Right? So when you think about a dynamic mixing board for your body for this, for jazz at least, right hand, provided you're a right hand player, right hand is the loudest, the driving force. Second, then comes the hi-hat step, which I don't have a hi-hat, but that would be the next loudest. Third loudest is the left hand, and then I wouldn't even say the fourth loudest would be the bass drum, because it would just be being feathered, just kissing that head, getting that rebound. And so that's how the dynamic range goes. Now, in modern music, you're looking at kind of bass drum, snare drum is the driving force. So you can see how things have turned. So here we go. Counting 2 and 4 on the left foot. And we're getting that left hand bar 5 going. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 4. Count it out loud. 4. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 2. Right? Now, shifting over for that blues shuffle. If you look at a triplet, we're getting rid of the middle. So we're playing the 1 and the let, not the trip. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 1. So once that's nice and, locked in and holding it steady, we'll bring that left hand in. 1, 2, here we go. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2. Coming back now. Keep this going. You might be hearing 4 notes from that. A trick that Bob gave was hit that heel down on the 1 and the 3 so that you don't lose where you are in that bar. So your foot might be counting all quarters, but you're actually only stepping the 2 and 4, and that way you don't ever accidentally step on the wrong note. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Well, there we go. This is live. Things happen. So we're throwing in that jazz pattern to finish off here. Again, you're adding that blues shuffle to the end of that quarter note. Holding that quarter note on that bass drum steady. We're going to bring that left hand in. 1, 2, a 4. 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 So, it's very important with that jazz pattern that when you're coming up for that final third note, cycling yourself then back into the downbeat, you're not giving that note as such. You're kind of getting that note for free. So you're playing 2, you're getting that additional one for free because all you're doing is breaking the stick there. At that, it's the distal phalanx in your index finger. That is your pivot point, your fulcrum point. That is where you're breaking, and it just kind of sits there. And as that breaks, you can see it gets that note. So you get that third note for free. So you're just pulling that out a bit and getting that up. What do we got going on? I haven't seen this. Yeah, it is really tricky. It is tricky. But again, Xavier's right. Practice makes perfect. Studying for Bob for 3 years, and I still have no clue myself. I mean, I have enough of a clue to convey it, but you'll never be happy. Personally, you'll never get there. It's always a journey of endless pursuit and endless trying. You just got to make tomorrow a better version of your today self. And then from there, really just keep moving, but make sure that you're pushing against yourself and nobody else. Because that is not a race that you want to get involved in. So yes, when you're doing it, you're just breaking it there. You're just letting it, you've got to have such a light grip that it just kind of drops itself and you get that note for free. So that is that pattern. I'm going to have a little sip of coconut water. That's how all the channel's doing. I can afford coconut water. Ha! Oh, right. So, what I will do is inject before we move on to some nerdiness. Before we move on to some nerdiness, I'll just inject a nice little bit of a quote here. A bit of a quote, a full bit of the quote, the whole quote, all of it. Somebody close to me. Somebody gave me a tip here, and she might be watching now. Who knows? You know who you are, and it is a pretty good one, actually. One of our greatest freedoms is how we react to things. So take that on board for what it's worth. One of our great freedoms is how we react to things. So if you find yourself saying they made me feel this way, just try and reverse engineer that thought and see that you're allowing yourself to feel that way. So positive vibes in that capacity. So again, if this person's watching, thank you for that quote. All right, Shark Drago, we've got you coming in. How's it going? Yes, gotta love some coconut water. You've missed page 33, but we can recap. We can recap at the end. So, as I said, we'll get this paradiddle going in. So you have a regular paradiddle. Now this is where this gets interesting, at least for me and any other drum nerd in this drum nerd community. As you may know, a paradiddle is 4 notes, right? Right, left, right, or left, right, left, left. Now you've got your accent, and you've got that grace note, and then those 2 16th note, the diddle. And there's your paradiddle. It sounds like it's 8 notes long, but that's only so that you get back to the right hand into that 1. But there's really only 1. So the interesting thing here is we double those accents. I learned about this earlier in the week, and so I'm quite keen to bring this to you. So you're not making a double paradiddle. Don't let yourself be confused there. So a double paradiddle has 6 notes, right? There are 6 notes in a double paradiddle because you're going accent, ghost, diddle. We're only diddling the beginning accent. So we're getting those 2 accents now, but we're not adding that middle grace note, right? So this is only going to be 5 notes long, but instead of just going single accent, we just double that first accent. And here we go. Now, how fun is that? Now, this will take some time. That is some fun stuff right there. So all you do is double that accent on the paradiddle. So again, it's not a double paradiddle because a double paradiddle is, but it is a doubled paradiddle. So we're doubling that first accent by just playing 2 accents with the paradiddle pattern around it, underneath it. So I'll start in gradually, quite slow, and gradually build it up as best as I can, really, because I'm, as I said, just learning this myself. That was about my burnout speed there. Now, what might be something as a take-home, something of interest for you, is there is a lot of molar technique going on in terms of arms, getting that molar whip. But if you did look closer, there's one final little bit of molar going on in there, which is my pinky is the fulcrum, not my as the jazz pattern, not my index finger. So what that allows is your pinky, as you can see, my hands almost drape over, my fingers, sorry, drape over the side of the stick. So that gives a complete free channel at which the stick can move in. And so you've got a molar technique in the whip and in the fulcrum, but you've also got a stone approach. Yeah, I think it was stone. Because there's Gladstone, there's stone, and then there's molar. But I think it was Stone who was having the principle of using a stick as if it was a basketball, and you throw it down and catch it, but you don't pull it back up. So word to the wise, something to take from this: when you're practicing, try to not throw it down and pick it up. Just try to throw it down and let it come back into your hand. So if you take the free stroke right there, it's hard to do it slowly because you don't really get a lot of momentum, but I'm not actually pulling that back. It's throwing itself back, and I'm just going along with the journey to catching it and stopping it at the top before throwing it back down, right? So if you take that approach of throwing it down, letting its energy push it back up so you don't put in as much energy, and take the molar approach with the pinky finger fulcrum, it makes things a little bit more easy, a little bit more ergonomical. You don't spend as much energy. You get notes for free. You have a little bit less rigidity within your playing, and as such, the vibrations and shocks that come out of these sticks when they're laying into that won't channel so much up to your forearms and muck up your arms and your wrist, giving you potential carpal tunnel down the road. So yes, that really is just, again, a little bit of a neat exercise is get the regular paradiddle and just double the accent. So all you're doing is right, right, left, right, right, left, left accent, right, left, left, grace note. So that's what that is. So, and before we go on any further, if anybody's got any questions, anything they'd like recapped, do let me know. But I'm going to have a sip here, and then we'll get into that that delicious 5.5 by 14 maple snare drum. Oh. Hopefully everybody's had a good week. Let's get that involved. Let's get that right in there. Okay, I'll clear this off. Boom. Get that out of the way. Get this up in the way. So this is your 6-ply maple Ludwig 5.5 by 14-inch snare drum. It has triple flanged hoops and a 45-degree bearing edge on both top and bottom. Now that's where we get into the exciting stuff. It also has 10 lugs, so it makes for a much more accurate tuning surface because you've got a lot more area to kind of fine tune and get things dialed in appropriately. So I've also kitted it out, by the way. So I kitted it out in my own special way by adding a Ludwig. It is a Ludwig, a Remo Vintage A Ambassador coated head. So this was the head, if you will, that Ringo premiered on the what was it? It wasn't the Johnny Carson show. Hey, when this Ed Sullivan, there you go. When this came out, when they came out on the Ed Sullivan show, he had vintage A's all over his toms and snare, and so it's a very I think I said in one of my other videos the thickness about heads. The vintage A, if I'm not mistaken, is 10. So you've got the kind of 11, 12 ply that's really thick and beefy, and then you got the kind of 7 ply that's not that. It's a bit thinner, and this guy lives right in the middle, and you get a nice, equal, balanced, warm approach to everything. And where I kitted it out on the other end is this is a 12-strand snare wire. So the thing about the snare wires, now you're probably thinking, what am I doing watching this on my Friday night? And I don't blame you, but I love this kind of stuff, and that's what it is. We're at the Drum Nerd channel. So the more snares in your snare, in the snare bed, so the wider the strand, the more crack, the more snare you're going to hear, and the less tonality of the drum you will then get. And sometimes you can get too many snare wires, in my opinion, and then all you end up hearing is this choked out snare. You don't hear any actual drum. Now, too few snares, I don't think. I mean, obviously you could have 2, and that wouldn't really do much. But the less snare wires you have, the less snare. The less snare sound it will be. You'll still have that crack. But you've got that warm tone, and the body of the actual drum and the shell itself comes through. So the big identifiable quality of this, where you'll really hear it, is when you're doing, see right there, little rolls. It doesn't engage the snares as much until you get a bit louder. And so that just allows you to get a bit more of the drum come through before the snares turn on and wake up. So it's more of a vintage sound with the 12 strands, which I'm personally a fan of, each to their own, but experiment, try something new, go out and get a 24 strand and get a 12 strand or a 16 strand. It will always, by the way, have to be even, because if you've got any odd number, it will pull slightly off and your snares won't engage appropriately or correctly, and you'll have a really ugly sounding snare drum as a result. So if you ever do break a wire, don't just cut that wire off and call it a day. If you ever pop a snare wire, which I've done before, I can hold my hand up, some of you may have. If you ever pop a snare wire, you got to cut one off on the other side as well. So if I were to blow one out here on the side, I'd have to go to the other side and blow the other one out there too, so that this 12 becomes the 10. If there's one in the middle, you got to blow the one out that would be as even to that one as possible. But you got to get rid of it so it's an even number. Otherwise, it'll all be crap. But again, I would advise just getting a new snare wire at that point. And if you do, get to the top there and then bend it away so it doesn't puncture that reso head. The only other thing about this snare is it has a 45 degree bearing edge. So as much as I've made this sound like a vintage drum in terms of vintage head, vintage snare strand, it has a 45 degree bearing edge, which is a modern edge. And so it will still respond like a modern drum. And 45, the sharper the edge, the sharper the bearing edge on the head, the brighter, the more lively, the more sustain you're going to get from that drum, the more modern it's going to sound. Whereas if you have a 30 degree bearing edge, or maybe a double round over bearing edge, then, you know, or just a round over bearing edge, sorry, then you will get more of a vintage sound, more of a 30s, 40s style sounding drum. It'll be warmer. It'll be a little bit softer, you know. It won't be as sharp and lively and attacky. It'll just be a bit more mellow and warm because there's obviously more wood in contact with that head, right? So then if you really wanted to step it up, you get a double 45, and then that's like that's futuristically modern. There you go. So that about concludes the nerdiness there. Again, I'll briefly recap these this bar 5 on page 33, just for people who might have jumped in late. We're doing the quarter note on here. We'll be very quick on this, and then we'll take questions and sign off. So here we go. One, two, a 4. 1, 2, a 4. Move it over to that blues shuffle. 1, 2, a 4. 1, 2, a 4. 1, 2, a 4. 1, 2, a 4. Jazz. 2, a 4. 1, 2, a 4. And who can forget the doubled paradiddle? Be aware, I have said doubled paradiddle and not double paradiddle. Doubled. You're just getting 2 accents at the start there before doing the paradiddle pattern. And a double paradiddle has 2 very, very distinct accents. Now, next week, we could swing that paradiddle, make it swung, so we'd play it as 16th note triplets. I'm sure everybody wants to hang around for that. So I'll get that lesson set up and ready to go. And we will be working on page 33. Again, the Holy Grail. If anybody could ever find a more perfect and beneficial page to learn from, I'd have to give them everything and then some for the rest of my life, because it would have to just be the page 33. There's nothing better than page 33, genuinely, for independence, coordination, the whole thing, timing, vocabulary, the whole thing's just a beast. It's the Holy Grail of drum education. So that's all I have. I will just hold a very quiet 16th note paradiddle, and let's see what questions we might have. 3 cheers for page 33. I would say so. Hip, hip, hooray. Hip, hip, hooray, and hip, hip, hooray. Page 33 is the bee's knees. It genuinely is. There is so much to learn from that. Yeah. And again, a big takeaway for that is it's not the notes on the page that are important. It's the space in between those notes that really matter. And that's something that needs to be explored and experienced and dived, dove in, drove, it needs to be really inspected and looked into. I'm a drum tutor. I'm a drummer. I'm not an English major. So, you get what you get, right? It's a free lesson. You'll get what you get. So now taking any questions, unless nobody has any, then I've got nothing else to teach you today. I've got a lot to teach you through the weeks. Here we go. No, I'm not upset. I'm not upset. I think I've had too much. I think I've had too much coconut water. I just don't know how to speak when I've had this stuff. It just revitalizes you like nobody's business. So questions, I'm taking them. Ask them about the drum, about bearing edges. You ask the question, I'll let you know the answer if I know it. Until then, though, what I will do is hold out a little bit more of a paradiddle. It's really good product placement, isn't it? Hey, today's drum lesson was brought to you by Vita Coca. Brought to you from the farthest flungs of the empire that no longer exists. So, again, I'll just recap. I think I'm just going to keep we're just going to keep recapping. You double that paradiddle. Pretty fun stuff. Pretty fun stuff. And that applies not only to the paradiddle. You can double any rudiment. You just need to sit down, break it out, and evaluate what it then would become. Right? So you can double a 6-stroke roll. You can double a 7. You can double any of those accents. It's just going to take a little bit of thunking out there. You're going to need to thunk about it and get it kind of applied at a very slow pace. I mean, obviously, what's ideal, what you'd want to look for doing is holding that quarter note down on the bass drum to give time. Now, this is where, see, you know what? We're going to get into this next part of the lesson. We're going to hold this quarter note down, and we're going to do the regular paradiddle, single accent, and then we'll add that double accent, and you'll see that it shifts itself over. You'll feel it. So here we go. You need to pick it up on the right hand, on that one. Ooh, I lost it there for a second. Perfect. No further questions. Yeah. Hold that down. That's not easy. That's not easy at all. So you can throw that down, and that will obviously add a bit more, well, I say texture. It'll add a little bit more spice to the whole concept. So that's how you can kind of just run off there, vamp on that. Again, these lessons happen every Friday, 9:45. I think we'll call it there. Every Friday, 9:45 UK time. I know I've got a fairly large section of Canadians, Americans, some South Koreans now. So time zones are everywhere, which I'm very honored about. But yeah, 9:45 UK time, British Standard Time. Every Friday, and we're going to keep bringing you these lessons. Again, moving in a few weeks, I'll get my proper electric kit set up. It'll be my Christmas gift to myself, and then I'll actually be bringing some proper lessons that sound like more than rubber discs. So it'll actually be a bit more enjoyable and sonically delicious, at least. and then we can get some song requests. We can do some jam alongs. It'll be great. So awesome stuff. Thank you very much, everybody, for checking it out. Again, welcome to all those people, and thank you for joining the Drum Nerd family. Xavier, Mocha, Justin, Marissa, and Steven. Thank you again, and welcome to the community. I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Keep your stick on the ice. Stay well.